Hey friends, it's Thursday. Today we're going to review story structure and elements with a funny text titled Dog Breath. Our statement is good readers can identify and describe the story elements in a story using a graphic organizer. And that's going to be the end goal of this lesson, is to complete the graphic organizer. Okay, so before we have our story, let's look at an anchor chart to review kind of what we talked about yesterday. So the story structure, this is a story structure anchor chart. It says, we can tell how authors organize literature. Well, we know that all kinds of text, no matter it's fiction, nonfiction, is organized. There's a plan, and it all fits together in a perfect way to make it makes sense. So fictional text has characters and a setting. It has a plot, which includes the beginning, middle, end, and the problem and the solution. So we're going to identify the characters, the setting, the beginning, middle, and end of the story, and the problem with the solution. So what you'll be working on is this story elements graphic organizer, where you will fill in the characters, the setting, beginning, middle, ending, problem, and solution. So go ahead and be thinking that that's the purpose today. You're trying to identify these elements in the story that we're going to listen to about dog breath. So get ready to listen to the story. And you're going to really want to pay close attention so you can fill in this chart afterwards, okay? If you don't have this chart, you can easily just kind of draw something in your Word work journal. So you could pause the video right now, go get your Word work journal and draw something that looks similar. And then once you have it drawn and in place, you could start the video again. Okay, let's go to our book.
Dog Breath, The Horrible Trouble with Halitosis by Dav Pilkey. Dog Breath, The Horrible Trouble with Halitosis by Dav Pilkey. There once was a dog named Hallie, who lived with the Tosis family. Halitosis was a very good dog, but she had a big problem. Halitosis had horrible breath. Whenever Halitosis opened her mouth, horrible things happened. When the children took Halitosis for a walk, everyone else walked on the other side of the street. Even skunks avoided Halitosis.
Okay, so I bet you've already figured out what the problem is here in the characters.
But the real trouble started one day when Gramatosis stopped by for a cup of tea, and Hallie jumped up to say hello. Mr. and Mrs. Tosis were not amused. "Something has to be done about that smelly dog," they said. The next day, Mr. and Mrs. Tosis decided to find a new home for Hallie. The children knew that the only way they could save their dog was to get rid of her bad breath. So they took Halitosis to the top of the mountain that had a breathtaking view. They hoped that the breathtaking view would take Hallie's breath away, but it didn't.
Nice try.
Next, the children took Halitosis to a very exciting movie. They hoped that all the excitement would leave Hallie breathless. but it didn't. Finally, the children took Halitosis to a carnival. They hoped that Hallie would lose her breath on the speedy roller coaster. But that idea stunk too. The plans to change Hallie's bad breath had failed. Now only a miracle could save Halitosis. Sadly, the three friends said goodnight, unaware that a miracle was just on the horizon. Later that night, when everyone was sound asleep, two sneaky burglars crept into the Tosis house. The two burglars were tiptoeing through the dark, quiet rooms when suddenly they came upon Halitosis. "Yikes," whispered one burglar. "It's a big, mean, scary dog." "Aw, don't be silly," whispered the other burglar. "It's only a cute little fuzzy puppy." The two burglars giggled at the sight of such a friendly little dog. "That dog couldn't hurt a fly," whispered one burglar. "Come here, Poochie Poochie," whispered the other. So Halitosis came over and gave the burglars a nice big kiss. Slurp! The next morning, the Tosis family awoke to find two burglars passed out cold on their living room floor. It was a miracle. The Tosis family got a big reward for turning in the crooks, and soon Halitosis was the most famous crime-fighting dog in the country. In the end, Mr. and Mrs. Tosis changed their mind about finding a new home for Hallie. They decided to keep their wonderful watchdog after all. Because life without Halitosis just wouldn't make any sense. The end.
Okay, so think about the characters, think about the setting, think about a good one sentence for the beginning, one for the middle, one for the ending. What's the problem? Now, the solution is kind of tricky because Halitosis never lost her bad breath, but think about what the parents decided, right? Okay, so that's how you're going to figure out what the solution is. It's about what the parents decide. She didn't get rid of her bad breath, but what did the parents decide about Hallie because of the burglars? Do your best work. And like I said, if you can't print this, you can kind of just draw something in your Word work journal and label the different sections with the top of the paper, the middle of the paper, the bottom of the paper, and that would be just as good. Then you can take a picture and send it to me. I look forward to seeing your work.